to our weekly class on Bhakti Yoga Online. This week, our topic is how to become free from all troubles. Do you think that this is possible at all? Well, I can guarantee you that it is possible. And you will discover in this class how is this possible. And we will also go live on Facebook page. So give me just a second to connect with our Facebook page, Bhakti Yoga Online. Okay. Yes, so we are going live right now. Okay, so we are now live. So I would like to start with reading one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a most exceptional literature. This is ancient textbook, yoga textbook, which is actually a mystical book. And it has great spiritual potency. So I will read the text which comes at the very beginning, actually. This at the very beginning of the, just a moment, let me just get there. This is at the very beginning of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is text number 2. It is a beautiful, beautiful text, and I would, of course, I cannot go into great length and depth in explaining this text, but I will just focus on a few points, on a few very important principles, and then explain them because they are connected with our main topic, which is how we can become free from all troubles, from all miseries. So this verse says that this Bhagavata Purana, and Bhagavata Purana refers to Srimad Bhagavatam, propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. So here in this verse, we can actually see it is stated just in the very beginning of this exceptional literature that this is actually the book that has the power to end all our troubles, all our miseries. So the first question here is, what actually are the miseries that we are experiencing? In the Vedic literature, the miseries which we experience are divided in 3 categories. So the first category are the miseries which pertain to our body and mind. The second category are miseries which come from other living entities. And the third categories are miseries which come from higher sources, which are actually like natural catastrophes, or like the weather problems, too hot, too cold, and so on, earthquakes or tsunamis. So these are the 3 kinds of the miseries that we are experiencing. And if you are very honest, you can actually admit that practically at every point in our life, we are experiencing at least one of these miseries, at least one category of these miseries, if not 2, or sometimes even like all 3 at once. This is life in this material world. But this literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, actually we have this statement here that this book is revealing the highest truth. And this highest truth has the power to completely finish all miseries. So what really is the mystery of this highest truth? What is this highest truth? So the highest truth, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, is actually revealed in three, we could say in three different levels, which are called Sambandha, or the knowledge about the relationships. Then it's Abhideya, which actually reveals what is the proper way to act in this world for a human being who wants to achieve the freedom from all miseries. And then Prayojana. Prayojana is actually revealing to us what really is the purpose of human life and what really is the highest goal that a human being can achieve. So all these three constitute the understanding of the ultimate truth, of the complete truth. But if we go really in very, very short, in a very short, like 2 sentences, I want to read to you just a little bit from the commentary, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. And it, one sentence I want to read to you. It says that in the material conception of life, one falsely thinks himself the Lord of all he surveys, and therefore he is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. So this sentence is actually revealing to us that our experience, which we have in this world, depends on our perception and our identification. Who we identify with, who we really think we are, and how we identify with this world and everything that happens to us. So this understanding falls into the knowledge which is called Sambandha knowledge. Understanding who I really am and how I am connected with this world, with this nature, material nature, and also how I am connected with the Supreme Person, with God, with the absolute truth. What is my relationship with this world and with the absolute truth? This is very important to understand. Why? Because we normally, everybody in this world, like normal people, the identification is that it is me who is the center of the universe, and it is me who is in the control, and it is me who has the right to enjoy everything, and everything actually should be set in such a way that it is according to my liking. This is a conception that every one of us has somewhere deep, deep, deep in our heart. And then we try to adjust our life and our life circumstances to somehow fall into this perception of ourselves and perception of life in this world. But somehow or other, down the way, down this road, we always meet with obstacles, problems, frustrations, pain, and trouble. And here it is actually explaining why. So long we think that we are actually the center and that we are the ones who can dictate how things should be in this world, we are actually bound we are actually bound to experience these miseries. So we can see that the difference is actually a very subtle one. So the truth liberates, and the ultimate truth gives ultimate liberation. So when we actually receive the truth, what happens is that these material concepts in our heart, in our mind, in our intelligence are dissolved. And we actually start to understand what the real truth is about who we are and what is our position in this world. Srimad Bhagavatam is actually teaching us that we are not the, we are not the center of everything, but we are tiny, tiny little sparks, tiny little souls, which have divine nature. We are divine beings. So we have divine nature. We are beautiful in our original situation, but we are tiny, very, very small. And as such, we are always in subordinate position. We are always subordinate to the Supreme Soul, to God. And as such, there is a particular role that is proper for us. And that particular role is that we are always at service in relationship to Him, to the Supreme Absolute Truth. But this service is service of love. It is a loving service. And as soon as we are situated in this proper position and we start acting in this way, we start experiencing how the miseries start to diminish. It's a practical experience. Of course, the miseries are completely extinguished when one comes to full realization of this knowledge. So it is not enough just to understand things theoretically, but one has to actually get this deep realization in the heart, because this knowledge, actually, it's a live knowledge. This is not academic knowledge. This is knowledge which transforms one's heart, which transforms one's life, and destroys the misery and suffering. And this is on the level of full realization. When a person comes to a full realization of who he really is as a spiritual being, when his true identity is revealed to him, that point, all the miseries of this material existence completely disappear. And such person actually achieves eternal life, achieves immortality. So this is something amazing, isn't it? Have you ever thought about that you can become immortal? Immortal in the most true sense of the word. You don't have to die anymore. You don't have to experience pain and trouble anymore, but you can actually live eternal life full of bliss and full of love, of loving exchanges. So this is what one can get if one is getting this true knowledge. And now I would like to tell some stories which illustrate this, what I just told you about the power of the true knowledge, of the highest knowledge. And the first story that I want to tell you is the story of King Parikshit. King Parikshit is a real person. It's a historical personality, a king who was ruling this planet about 5,000 years ago. And he actually had very, very unusual thing happen to him. He was cursed that he will die within 7 days. So can you imagine? He was the ruler of the entire planet, the highest position you can imagine. But when he got the news about this curse, he didn't hesitate even for a moment, but he immediately took off his royal clothes and he left the palace and he went to the bank of the holy river to sit down and to fast until his imminent death. And while he was sitting at the holy river, so many sages started coming, and they were coming from all parts of the world and even more. It is actually explained that they were coming from all over the universe, even from the higher planets. And when all the sages around the king were gathered, then the greatest of all sages came, and his name was Shukadeva Goswami. Although he was very young at that time, he was only 16 years old, but he was the greatest and most realized of all sages. So what did King Parikshit do? King Parikshit first offered his respects to him, and then he started asking him very important questions. And the most important question that he asked him was, please tell me, what is the most important duty for a man who is about to die? What does he need to do? And of course, he asked also other questions, also very, very important questions. And another very important question is, what is the essence of all the scriptures in the world? Because there are many, many different kinds of scriptures, many different kinds of religions, but what is the essence? Please tell me the essence. I want to know the essence. So to answer these two and other questions, Srila Shukadeva Goswami recited to King Parikshit this Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the answer. So it gives actually the essence of all the scriptures, and also tells about the ultimate duty of every person, because every one of us is going to die. It wasn't only King Parikshit who was about to die, but every one of us is about to die. Just that he knew he would die in 7 days, but we do not know. We may live less than 7 days. We do not know how much time we still have. So, and what happened? Srila Shukadeva Goswami started answering his questions, and then the conversation went on. So he answered, and then King Parikshit asked some more questions, and then he went even deeper into the subject matter. And in this way, they spent 7 days and 7 nights non-stop, and all the sages around them as well. And during these 7 days and 7 nights, King Parikshit did not sleep, did not eat, did not drink, and he did not become tired at all. Just the opposite. He was becoming more and more enlivened. He was becoming more and more enthusiastic to hear more and more. So this in itself demonstrates the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. By being completely absorbed in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he became completely free from the miseries of material life. So he didn't feel the pangs of hunger. He didn't feel the pangs of thirst or tiredness. He was just going on, listening and listening. And at the end, after 7 days and 7 nights, the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam was completed, and then the mystical snake came, because this was actually the curse, that he will die from a snake bite. But this wasn't like an ordinary snake, it was a mystical snake. And that snake really came, bit him. And but actually, when the snake bit him, King Parikshit was already in a deep trance, and he actually already transferred to the spiritual realm, back home, back to Godhead. So then when the snake came and bit his body, the body actually was in flames and burned completely. But the king, the soul, he already left, and he achieved immortality. He returned back to the eternal abode, which is his eternal home. So this is one story about the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. And now another question may come. You may say, oh, this is very wonderful, but you know, this is like a very extraordinary person. He was like a great king, great personality. He was actually a saintly king, so he was also spiritually very elevated. That may be good for him, but what about us? So even if we are not on such a level as King Parikshit, we can achieve same result, because the secret really is in our sincerity and in our hearing Srimad Bhagavatam with great attention and great absorption. When we really hear with great attention and great absorption, then the power of Srimad Bhagavatam really starts to act. And this is actually described here in this verse, this ability to hear in such a way with the word shushrushu. Shushrushu. It's a Sanskrit word which describes the ability to hear with great attention and great absorption. And in this is also connected the respect and appreciation for Srimad Bhagavatam and for the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, and actually the faith and trust that this really is a very powerful spiritual literature that can really create wonders in our life. So when one has such attitude in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then results are very, very powerful. And then there is another thing that I would also like to expose. What is actually perhaps the greatest obstacle in hearing and assimilating this truth in Srimad Bhagavatam? And this is actually also explained in this verse. It is said that I read before that this highest truth is understandable by those who are pure in heart. And here the word which is used is nirmat saranam. And nirmat saranam actually refers to being non-envious. This is actually extremely important quality for one who wants to make progress on the spiritual path, and also for the practitioners on the spiritual path, especially practitioners in Bhakti Yoga. Because in this world, it is also explained here in the commentary, in this world, there is always a competition. Why is a competition? Because everyone wants to be the center. Everyone wants to lord it over everyone else. So there is this rivalry to satisfy one's senses, and there is the envy. If somebody excels and somebody is better than ourselves. But this envy actually is very detrimental on the spiritual path. Why? Because as soon as a person is acting upon his envy, and at the same time trying to understand the spiritual truth, trying to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the ability to really hear properly and the ability to assimilate is greatly reduced. It is greatly reduced. A person who is absorbed in the rivalry, competition, and envy is actually completely pushed into the conception of duality in this world, in the conception of friends and enemies. These people are my friends because they help me. I can enjoy myself better. And these people are my enemies because they are actually not helping me. They're actually maybe making obstacles, or they are doing better than I'm doing. So when one is completely in this kind of mentality of duality, it is very, very difficult to understand this highest truth. So what is the solution? Solution is to really be on guard. As long as we are in this material world, and as long as we are not on a very highly elevated spiritual state, we definitely have this quality in our heart of envy. But the most important thing is that we are introspective enough and that we can sense when this envy manifests within our heart. And then we really try to control ourselves not to act upon it. With other words, we really practice not being violent towards anybody if we want to understand this truth. And one can be violent in 3 different ways. One can be violent already with one's thoughts, negative thoughts, critical thoughts towards another person. One can be violent with his words, speaking critically or behind one's back. And one can be also violent by practical violent activity, aiming at hurting another person. So if we can just check ourselves, even when we can experience, we can feel that envy rising in the heart. But if we can just check ourselves from doing the negative activity, bodies in our thoughts, in our words, or in our mind, then we will actually achieve much, much greater ability to go deeper into hearing and understanding this highest truth, which is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. And actually, working with envy, it's not only in trying to check ourselves, but on the other hand, we should do the opposite. We should try to glorify others. We should try to help others. We should try to care for others, even for those whom we don't like. This is one very, very effective recipe on the path of spiritual life, especially if there is a person that we do not like. If we can try to do something good for this person, this will be for our greatest benefit. And even if it is only saying a prayer, sending a good wish, sending some positive thoughts, this will really help, especially us. especially our own progress on the spiritual path. So in this short lecture, I was trying to explain how we can become free from all troubles. The solution is given through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam, the completely spiritual literature. And I explained what does this really mean to become completely free from all miseries. We become free from all miseries when we actually are able to understand, assimilate, and realize the highest truth which is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this highest truth is actually the truth about our real nature, who we really are, and what is our real relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and with this material world. And then I also explained one very important quality, which will actually two important qualities, which will help us that we can really absorb and assimilate this knowledge. And one is that we are very sincere, that we are very eager, and that we are faithful with full trust and respect, both for the Srimad Bhagavatam and for the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the second quality is that we are non-envious. So now I will stop here, and I would like to see if there is anyone who perhaps has any question. If anyone has any question, then please, you can just write it right now. Just right now, you can write it in the comments. Okay, I'll wait just for a second or two. And if there is no comment right now, no question right now, then you're still welcome and to write it later. And for all those of you who will be watching the recording, you're also welcome to write your questions or doubts or realizations below in the comments. So thank you very much for your kind attention. And we will be again together next week.